intend to resign as party leader, as Prime Minister.
Justin Trudeau is gone. He won't be fighting the upcoming election, and he certainly won't be Prime Minister. Canadians are naturally talking about this news, but surprisingly, so are Indians. Trudeau had a very bad relationship with New Delhi. He shielded Khalistani separatists. He accused India of killing terrorists in Canada, and he expelled Indian diplomats. So a lot of Indians are asking the obvious question: will Trudeau's exit fix the relationship? To answer that, we must look at Canada's political future. Their parliament was supposed to convene later this month, but Justin Trudeau has asked for a delay. He wants the Governor-General to prorogue the session.
Despite best efforts to work through it, Parliament has been paralyzed for months after what has been the longest session of a minority parliament in Canadian history. That's why this morning I advised the Governor-General that we need a new session of Parliament. She has granted this request, and the House will now be prorogued until March 24th.
So the Canadian Parliament will meet in March. The idea is to give Trudeau's Liberal Party some time. A leadership contest takes around 4 months. If they speed things up, they could have a new leader by late March. And who would that be? Around 3 or 4 names are doing the rounds. The first is Chrystia Freeland. She was Trudeau's Deputy Prime Minister for 4 years, but in December she resigned in protest. The second is Mark Carney, a former governor of Canada's central bank. Trudeau tried to recruit him as finance minister, but Carney refused. Apparently he has bigger ambitions. The third contender is Anita Anand. As her name suggests, she is of Indian heritage. She has been the Minister of Defence and Public Services. Right now, she is the Minister of Transport in Canada. A fourth name is Dominique LeBlanc, Finance Minister and longtime friend of Justin Trudeau. He too comes from a political dynasty. 3 of these leaders were in Trudeau's cabinet. They backed all his decisions against India, so do not expect a U-turn. But frankly, it's not about them. Let's say the Liberals elect a new leader by March. 2 things can then happen. 1, the opposition pushes a no-confidence vote. The Liberals lose and elections are called. Every poll says that the Conservatives will win the next election, so the new Liberal leader will be Prime Minister for maybe 1 month, which is not long enough to make a dent. That is one scenario. The second one is that the Liberals survive the trust vote. Even then, elections are slated in October, so the new leader will be in office for about 5 months. By then, Trump will be president in the US, so Canada will be too busy to focus on India. And come October, elections will happen. So I guess all roads lead to the same person, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. He will be Prime Minister at some point in 2025, but he's not willing to wait. He wants an election right now.
We need a carbon tax election now to choose between the NDP Liberal costly coalition that taxes your food, punishes your work, doubles your housing costs, and unleashes crime and drugs in your community. Or common sense Conservatives who will axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime.
He's almost certain to win because the public sentiment is firmly with him. Just look at this store in British Columbia. They're selling $2 burgers to celebrate Trudeau's resignation. If that does not sum up the political climate, nothing will. Which is why Pierre Poilievre is on course to win. The question is, how will he handle India? Let's look at 3 factors here. 1, his past statements. 2, his party's history with India and Khalistanis. And 3, his priorities as Prime Minister. When Trudeau accused India, Poilievre supported him. He called the alleged attack an affront to Canada's sovereignty. He also paid tributes to Hardeep Singh Nijjar. But there was a crucial difference. Poilievre also asked Trudeau to come clean, to reveal the evidence he had on the case, which is also what New Delhi has been saying. So that's the first factor to consider. The second is the Conservative track record. Historically, they have never won the Sikh vote. Most Canadian Sikhs vote for the Liberals and the NDP. In a close election, those votes may have mattered. But right now, the Conservatives have a 20-point lead over the Liberals. They do not need to appease Khalistanis in Canada. Plus, the last Conservative government was quite good for India. It was led by Prime Minister Stephen Harper. He apologized for the Air India bombing in 1985, an attack carried out by Khalistanis. Listen to what he said. This was Stephen Harper in 2010. I'm quoting, "It is incumbent upon us all not to reach out to, but rather to marginalize, to carefully and systematically marginalize those extremists who seek to import the battles of India's past here and then to export them back to that great and forward-looking nation." Let me simplify that for you. He said that Canada should not import Khalistanis. Instead, they should send them back to India. And it wasn't just statements. Under Harper, bilateral trade doubled. Investments went up from 700 million to 55 billion. And Canada reversed its position on India's nuclear program. All in all, a good reset before Trudeau ruined it. And finally, the third factor. What will be the priorities for Pierre Poilievre? His biggest challenge will be Donald Trump. He's threatening Canada with a 25% import tariff. He's asking Canada to join the US. Even yesterday, Trump repeated this offer. He said if Canada became the 51st US state, all of these problems could be avoided. That will be the first priority for Poilievre. His second will be Canada's economy and inflation. That's what sealed Trudeau's fate. And that's where India could help. Right now, the India-Canada free trade talks are paused, but Poilievre may want to revive it. He's talked about expanding exports to India, especially natural gas, uranium, and lentils. So it's a question of what he will prioritize, a deal with India or a witch hunt started by his predecessor. Poilievre does sound more pragmatic than Justin Trudeau. He will also have much bigger issues on his plate. That does not mean that he will abandon the Nijjar issue altogether, but he could take a different approach. We'll have to wait and see what that approach is.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12:30 GMT, only on Firstpost.